Good afternoon. I'm here today to talk to you about faculty attitudes towards innovation, diffusion theory, and how gumbo, a very old Louisiana dish, can help us understand both. So let's start with gumbo. Gumbo is the official dish of the state of Louisiana. It's a complex dish, combining disparate ingredients and the culinary practices of several cultures. Preparing gumbo is both art and science, and everyone's grandma has a special recipe. Gumbo can be divided into two categories. There's good gumbo, of which I've had much. Good gumbo is filling, rich, and complicated. Good gumbo takes a while. Good gumbo cannot be rushed. And of course, there's bad gumbo, of which I'm sorry to say I've also had much. Bad gumbo is bitter because the foundation, the roux, was burned in the beginning, or perhaps it simmered too long, or perhaps too little. There's been a lot of bad gumbo in the higher ed policy world as of late, especially in regards to the topic of innovation. No confidence votes, presidents ousted by boards amid faculty and student protest, and assertions by the media that higher ed just moves too darn slow. So, what would a good policy recipe for innovation, So, if you were to ask my grandma for a good gumbo recipe, she'd probably give you a recipe that had no exact measurements and everything to taste. And that's what policy work is like sometimes. There's a destination, but rarely a single way to get there. So what would a good policy recipe for innovation look like? Maybe something like this. Diffusion theory seeks to explain how, why, and at what rate new ideas spread through social systems. But like any good recipe, there aren't exact measurements. This past February, we conducted a statewide survey of faculty in Louisiana. We received about 1,500 responses to questions about their perceptions of various teaching innovations. Applying our recipe, we'll take a look at some of the responses. The first ingredient is relative advantage. An innovation has relative advantage if it is perceived as being better than the current practice. We asked whether a course taken partially or fully online was of equal or educational value to one taken in the classroom, and 66% of faculty did not agree. The next ingredient is compatibility. An innovation is compatible when it corresponds with the user's values, past experiences, and needs. Our survey data reveals some disconnect on values. When asked what underlying values are driving innovations on their campus, faculty listed cutting cost as number one. But when asked to list the values that should be driving innovations, improving teaching and learning was number one. In regards to past experiences, people really do condemn most what they do not understand. There was an exact match between the innovations faculty had the least experience with and those that they thought would have the most negative impact on higher ed. When asked what needs could be fulfilled by various innovations, faculty cited a need for more student-centered teaching capabilities and the streamlining of mundane tasks. These needs have to be tied more clearly to any innovation that is introduced. The next ingredient is trialability. It's why Best Buy is still in business. People want to touch products before buying them from Amazon. 82% of faculty didn't feel that they get enough time to experiment in their classrooms with teaching innovations. The next ingredient is ease of use. Faculty cited many impediments to their ability to implement new innovations, such as incompatible technologies, classroom space that's set up for stage-on-the-stage teaching, and administrative red tape, to name a few. Next, my favorite ingredient, image. Does it make me look cool to my colleagues? When asked what motivates them to innovate, faculty are not much different from the typical high school student, listing recognition and peer pressure as major drivers. Next, we'll need a good heaping of voluntariness. Faculty, like most of us, don't like to feel forced to do something, and when asked which groups are currently driving innovations and which groups should be driving innovations, the lists were quite different. The last ingredient is result demonstratability. Can the user see the benefits of using the innovation? Again, when asked what hampers their ability to innovate, faculty listed a lack of training. With little training, there's little hope for faculty realizing the many benefits of various innovations. So to recap, diffusion theory can be used as a lens to better understand how, why, and at what rate various teaching innovations are or will be adopted. And if we think of it like a gumbo recipe, we'll understand that while all the ingredients need to be there, putting them together is both art and science. I hope that I've ignited your interest in diffusion theory, or at the very least in gumbo. And as each of you returns home to craft the policies of tomorrow, I wish you all happy cooking.